Hey, what's happening today? This is Hayden Adams with A Designer Who Codes. In this video, I want to show you how you can build an email capture landing page. So when someone hits this page, the only thing they can do is click this download button to go and download, in this case, the ebook, 3 Ways to Eat Healthy. It's also responsive. So no matter what size browser, mobile device, or tablet, they always get this design. They see the PDF, and they can click on download from wherever they are to get your material. And we're starting right now. To get started with this project, we're going to use Get Bootstrap and Bootstrap 5. This is one of my favorite tools to use in which to build websites with. I'm going to go down to Get Started, and on this page, I'm going to start with their basic template, which is their starter template. I'm going to copy this. I'm using VS Studio Code. I'm going to create a new file and drop this in. The great part about VS Code is it doesn't know what kind of file it is until you save it, and then it color coordinates everything. This project, I'm going to save this. I'm going to head down to my 117 version 2 as my blank folder that I have, and create an index.html file, and there we go. And what it looks like is this. Hello world. We're going to take this and move it forward to that email landing page. From here, what I have to do is create a custom CSS file for all the additional work I have to do that falls outside of Bootstrap. So down here where it says Bootstrap CSS on line number 8, I'm going to create a new line and say link href and hold that thought for 1 second. So I'm going to create a new file or Command N and save it as custom.css. Now when I come back to the index file and I say equals quotes, up pops the CSS file automatically. We're going to say rel style sheet and then close up this link. Just to test to make sure this link file does work, I'll save, and I usually put the word body and put a background color in. Let's use aqua just to see if it works. Refresh the page, refresh Chrome, and we have one aqua page. Looks great. So let's continue on. Since we don't really need this color background, it's just more for a test. I'm going to take it back out, save, and refresh the page. What I want to do next is I want to bring in Canva because Canva's got one of the coolest features out there for stock photography. So if I do a quick search for Canva, and if I go to canva.com/photos, up pops a cacophony of photographs. And the reason why I love using Canva, especially with Canva Pro, is it allows me to not only choose photographs, but also resize them for the best way possible in my design. In my case, I already have a picture. I have the mountain range, and it's a huge picture at 5760 by 3840. The great part about Canva is I can resize with Canva Pro. So what I want to do is I'm going to resize this picture and it keeps it to scale. How cool is that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this 2000 pixels wide and I'm going to copy and resize. So it remixes it and has the picture at the right size. Now what I can do is I can download this picture, and what I can do is choose the JPEG, and I can say size 1 and make this small. I'm going to say 40. I try to make the background size as small a file size as possible while keeping the actual pixels pretty large. Now that I have that, it's going to copy this JPEG, and it's going to download it to my computer. So perfect. So what I have now is this big mountain range. This is awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this photograph. I'm going to hide Safari for a second. I'm going to bring this mountain range over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say images, and I'm going to call this not mountain range, but hero graphic. And 357 looks great for a background image size. I'm going to drag it down into images. And now we can go into our index and our custom CSS to add that picture to the background. I'm going to pull up hello world. There he is all over again. And from here, I'm going to start with the index file. And where it says body, I'm going to add some new information. So I'm going to first start with a header. So I'll say header. And in the header, I'm going to add a style. If I could spell style, there we go. And in the style, we're going to add a background image. We'll say background image, colon, and we'll say URL. And in the URL, we have to place the location of that picture. Since it's in the images folder, I'm going to say period slash images and then hero graphic. And to close it up, let's just say the word test. And we'll align the header so it's back in the right spot. There we go. Refresh, and we have this graphic. I want this whole entire graphic to take up this entire screen. And since we already have hello world, let's just take hello world and add it to where test is. So I have this picture and I have hello world, but I want the picture to go down to the entire bottom part of the screen. Let's head over to our CSS file. And in the CSS file, I'm going to write some code. I'm going to say header. And from here, I'm going to say background. And then no repeat, and center this picture. The background size, I'm going to say as a cover. And since all the text should be white, I'm going to say color, white, and I have to set a min height. And I do like to set a min height in case I want to go larger than the actual browser size. So I'll say min height 100 VH for vertical height. If I save this, now what happens is, hey, it's looking a little better. This big graphic shows up across the entire page and it's starting to become responsive. Note how no matter how big or small I make this, this picture fits the entire width and height of the browser. We have hello world in the top left. Now let's get hello world to be more in the middle of the screen. Since we're already in the CSS, I'm going to write something else and then come back to the HTML. I'm going to say class color overlay. And this is going to form our black box in the middle of the screen. From the color overlay, I'm going to say max width 750 pixels. And also I want to choose a background color. So I'll say background color. Now the magic here is where I'm going to use RGBA for alpha. So I'm going to say RGBA parentheses. And since I want to use black, I'm going to say 0, 0, 0, never mind, 0.8. And from here, if we save it, nothing's going to change, but that's okay. Let's apply the color overlay and some extra elements that are part of Bootstrap 5. If we come down to our index file, what I want to do is inside the header, I'm going to say the following: div class equals container, and then I'll also say color overlay. The reason why I use the container is in Bootstrap 5, the container contains all the breakpoints to make this responsive. And if I close it up, drop it down, I'm going to bring the H1 up for hello world and bring them right there. We'll take the space out so it looks a little better visually. Save this and let's take a look and see what happens. Hey, we're looking better. So hello world is sitting towards the middle of the page. We can see this black box sitting where it is. And that 0.8 looks a little strong, so I might do a 0.75. Let's go back to the custom CSS. Let's go a 0.75. And if it still looks a little weak, I can always change it down the road. There we go. I want to see through the picture a little bit, but not too much. So if we come back to our index file, we have to add a couple things, because what I want to do is I want to bring hello world down to the middle of the page. And we do that with Flex, and it's already built into Bootstrap 5, which is super cool. So what I'm going to do is in this header, I'm going to drop the return key and tab in some things, just because on my screen, it's going to be a little hard to read everything as it goes across the entire page. I'm going to say class equals dflex, and then say align items center. What that's going to do is set it up as a flex box for this div and then align it to the center of the screen. When I save it, check it out. It sits in the exact middle of the screen that I want it to do, and it's completely responsive. So no matter where I go or what I do, everything sits where I want it to be in the middle of the page. Now that we have this black box set up, let's add the content with the picture, the title, the description, and then the button that someone would click to get my digital product. And if I look at this again, there's not a lot of space around hello world. So I'm going to add one more piece to this. I'm going to say padding -5 for some extra padding around hello world. If this is too much padding, in Bootstrap 5, it goes from 1 to 5. So 1 adds a little padding, which is basically nothing. If I go up to 3, I get more padding, and I'm going to go to 5 to just give it a little more padding overall. Again, it's all responsive no matter where I'm working with. It holds the space in this area, and I can change it down the road if I just feel it's too heavy or not too heavy based upon the design. That's the power of Bootstrap, is I get the power of being responsive across all different sizes between tablet, desktop, and mobile. So after this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the container, I'm going to add rows and columns. I want a 2-column design. I'm going to say div class row, and I'm going to build a 2-column design. So I'm going to say div class, and I'm first going to say call 12, and I'll say call MD8. And let's look at this first. So I'm going to say test for this one, and I'll duplicate this, but I'm going to change 8 to 4. And let's just hide this for 1 second. We'll bring back the H1. But what I should have now is a 2-column design. The reason why I have 2 columns is Bootstrap works on a 12-column design. So 12 divided by 12 is essentially 100%. And that's what I'm going to get when I go down to the mobile size, is watch the word test drop down. And now we have 2 columns now being 1 column. When it hits the medium size, I did 2 columns. This is 3/4 or 8 divided by 12 and 4 divided by 12. So if I come back out, the word test sits there on the left and the test sits over here on the right. Let's go ahead and add some information into this first column. Inside the test, sorry, hello world, you're going away. Let's actually get rid of that space as well. In this test, I'm going to say H1, making sure I have a close of an H1, and I'm going to say small, and I'll say download the ebook right here, and I'm going to add a break tag because I wanted to drop the text without dropping or adding a space. So I'll say break, and in there is I'm going to say 3 ways to eat healthy. And now what I get is this type's just a little bit smaller, and then this type's just a little bit bigger so you can read the title, just that part. And again, it's 100% responsive. And you know what? Once I get to a mobile size, I might want to fix this once. I might want to change this to say padding 0 for mobile, but padding small, I'll say 3, and padding medium and larger go to 5. So I'm decreasing the padding as I get smaller and smaller. Let's take a look at that. Let's grab this design. It gets a little smaller and gets a little smaller. It's a little too close on second thoughts. You know what? Let's just keep it at a 3 altogether on that one. Let's give it a little space, but not too much space. There we go. That looks much better across the board. Now we're looking good. 3 ways keeps looking solid in that design. Perfect. So after the H1, I'm gonna add a paragraph of information. Now the cool part about Visual Studio Code is there's extensions to add lorem ipsum. So I'm just gonna add some dummy type. I'll say lorem, save, and now I get some basic information about what I would receive as this free download. After this, I have to have the call to action and actually have some button to click on. So I'm going to add one more paragraph. I'll scoot this up a little bit higher, and I'll say p tag, and I'm going to say button to give it a button to click on. Button type is going to be button. And if I had a location, I would say href And since I don't, I'll just use a pound or a hash sign. And after that, I'm going to say class. And the class is going to be a few things. First, a BTN, and then BTN outline light. Since we're using the light color type or white, I can close this, say download, and what I get as a result is a download button. And it has a rollover for when using your desktop. Of course, there's no rollover on the mobile, but notice now how it's fitting. Pretty good. Download the ebook, 3 ways to eat healthy. We have our little paragraph of dummy type and the word download. The last step is I want to add a picture to where it says test. Since we already have the picture in the images folder, I'm just going to move this back a little bit so it's easy to see again as we're working across the board here. Where it says test, I usually add a paragraph tag that adds a little extra space in the design just to keep consistent with the spacing of the H. So paragraph tag, I'm then going to say image and then source. And the source, if I click on equals quotes, I will say period / images, and I have to go bring in an image. I just realized I forgot to bring it in the last project. So what I'm going to do is come over here and grab my 3 ways JPEG that I have, 3 ways to eat healthy, and we'll bring in the images. And in there, if I come back and say /, now it has 3 ways. Don't forget the alt information. So I'll say alt, 3 ways to eat healthy, cover. And the last thing is I want to make sure that this picture is going to become responsive. So what I'm going to do is just go a little bit up. I'm going to close this before I forget. But just for readability, because my screen's a little bigger than most people's for video purposes, I'm going to add one more piece down here and say class. And this class is going to involve the way to make the image fluid. So no matter what size the picture is, it gets bigger and smaller. So I'm going to say class equals img fluid for image fluid. Now when I save, that test goes away and 3 ways to eat healthy shows up. And again, it makes the picture bigger or smaller based upon how big I'm working with. Now, this might be too big, so here's also the power. Notice how it becomes responsive at a specific breakpoint. If you're saying, wow, that picture is really, really big, I might want to change it up. What I can always do is, if this small size wants to go to 50% and 50%, I can say call SM6 for a small size, and since it's going to be the same up here and down here, what I can do now is have 3 ways be small, so it becomes more a 50-50 design, and then as it gets farther out, it now becomes 8/4. So you can adjust your design based upon the picture you have and the text over here. And of course, when we get to the mobile site, everything fills in. Here's also the great part about why I used min height. If we come over to the custom CSS file, if I just said height, watch what happens. So unfortunately, it stops at a certain size, the picture behind it doesn't go all the way down. By saying min height, it'll push the picture down the entire way for the mobile framework. Now, if I come back out, the next step would be to add a link to a digital product on the download page. But in the meantime, let's get this page up online. I'm going to come over and bring up Safari again. I'm going to head to a site called Netlify.com, one of the best ways to host websites. If you're new to Netlify, you'll click on sign up. And for me, I have a login. From here, I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the word sites. Since you'll probably have no sites, you'll probably have an empty screen. At the very bottom on my design, it says, want to deploy a new site without nothing to get? Yeah, I do. Drag and drop my site here. I can use Netlify. So what I can do is with this email form, I'm going to go out and grab the entire folder and drag it right into Netlify. And it just like that, it published my website. So let's change the domain name. So I'm going to change it and I will say email landing page.netlify.app. And when I save it, what I get is a page that anybody can see on the internet. Ooh, I actually got to change one more thing. Hello world. But now I have an about page. I have an email page, landing page. And what I want to do last, I want to change the word hello world. So that last change I forgot to do on the index page. So I'm going to head back up to hello world and we'll say download the ebook, 3 Ways to Eat Healthy. So we'll change the title, download the ebook, 3 Ways to Eat Healthy. And now when I save this, what I'm going to have to do is re-upload it. So if I come back up to site overview and production deploys, if I click on this, I can upload a new version, which I will. I'll re-drag it. There we go. Now also note this doesn't always change. For some strange reason, the uploading to published, I have to refresh the page at times. And there it is. And now if I refresh the page one more time, what I get is download the ebook, 3 Ways to Eat Healthy. If you want more help connecting a domain name to Netlify, I've got this video right here. And also if you want to know how to connect the download button to a digital product, I have this video right here. Continue on. As always, I'm Hayden Adams with A Designer Who Codes.